And we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to talk about what is wrong with the New England Patriots. This is something that I said I was going to touch upon this week. It kind of shuffled how I was going to do things with the injury news, with the stuff with Jefferson and Chain and some of the big injuries from Sunday. Other injuries from Sunday. This was kind of going to be like the focal point of the show, but the injury news kind of became that. So, but yeah, with this topic here, this is the third part of the show. But once again, I just want to remind you guys for donations and tips and to get your comments recognized, make sure to go to streamelements.com/GSMC Really helps the show. And once again, for bonus coverage materials that are not covered by this broadcast, make sure to go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network. And once again, that's where you can find all the exclusive content from my podcast, this podcast, the football podcast, the GSMC baseball podcast, college football, basketball, and fantasy football. That's where you can find all of them is on patreon.com. So let's get into this segment here. So what is wrong with the New England Patriots? There's a lot. There is a lot. Back-to-back weeks. I mean, Bill Belichick. I mean, I've never seen this. Bill Belichick coached team. 30-plus point losses. They lost 38-3 against Dallas in Week 4, and again, that's at Dallas. Okay. Now, this past Sunday, at home, 34-0 to the Saints, who have not looked good offensively. The Saints really have not looked that good. And now the Patriots are 1-4, and their only win is against the Jets, 15-10. And the Jets, they could have won that game. So the Patriots, could very easily be 0-5. But right now they're 1-4, and there's a lot with it. I saw a clip with Julian Edelman. He was on Colin Cowherd's show, and one of the things he brought up was, of course, them drafting receivers, and how some of the guys really just did not pan out. Now, one obviously popped into my head, and that was N'Keal Harry. He really just did not pan out. This is a guy that I think got drafted over DK Metcalf. But now, who is responsible for that? It's Bill Belichick. And what's gone on since Tom Brady left? The Patriots have not been a good team. They just haven't. Now, they made the playoffs in 2021. 2020, that was when Cam Newton came in. He actually got off to an okay start, but then, we got COVID, and then, they ended up finishing 7-9 on the season and missing the playoffs. Following year, they made it with Mac Jones' rookie season, and then last year they went 8-9 and missed the playoffs. But ever since Tom Brady has left, and even Tom Brady's last couple of seasons, I mean, the receiving core was not good. Obviously, 2018 you had Edelman and you had Gronk, so I'm not talking about them, but I mean, the receivers that they had. I mean, you go and draft N'Keal Harry. I mean, you're getting Benjamin Watson to replace Gronk. And you're signing guys like Devontae Parker and Kendrick Bourne and Juju Smith-Schuster now, and you're bringing in Ezekiel Elliott and Mike Gesicki. I mean, they're not star players. I mean, you're not bringing in guys to surround your quarterback. And Mac Jones, for me, I mean, doesn't look like the guy. He just doesn't. Now, he's kind of had. I relate to him with Daniel Jones in this respect. I mean, let's look at his stats now. So I got a graphic here. So 2021 was his first season. Now, obviously, this year is a small sample size because it's only 5 games. Um, but you look at like passing yards, passing yards per game, the touchdown to interception ratio, the passer rating. I mean, it all decreases. It all goes down over these 3 years. You go from his best season was with Josh McDaniels, and he was a Pro Bowler, believe it or not. He was a Pro Bowler in 2021. But then Josh McDaniels leaves, goes to coach with the Raiders, who we just talked about. And then you go out and you bring in Joe Judge and Matt Patricia to call plays on your offense. Joe Judge, who is a special teams guy, and Matt Patricia, who is your defensive coordinator. And now you got him calling plays for your offense. And what happens? Mac Jones, 14 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. Now, he did miss some games with injuries. I understand that. I think it was like a high ankle sprain that he suffered last year. But, I mean, there's that video of him against the Bills on Thursday night last year, like screaming. Like he was, visibly upset with some of the play calling decisions there. And now this year, you look at his season. I mean, he's barely passing for over 200 yards. 5 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. I mean, he's on his way to having a bad season. And I don't think he is the answer. I don't think he is going to be an elite quarterback. It's not going to happen. I don't see it with him. But I also think you're not seeing what he can really do because you're not giving him enough talent to, be successful. But I think Bill Belichick, I think he is the problem there. He's kind of getting in his own way. And, the drafting decisions, and, giving and basically saying I like getting rid of Brady. Saying that's where they're at right now. I mean, I don't think Brady didn't want to leave. Belichick pushed him out the door. And he tried doing that several times. With Garoppolo, he wanted to do that with, and, they traded Garoppolo. It's just, that's really the main problem. And we got a chat. Mac Jones is a horrible teammate. Belichick is a horrible GM. Yeah, it's kind of looked like that. And also, yeah, with Mac Jones being a horrible teammate, I mean, also you see like the video with him and Sauce Gardner. He like punched Sauce Gardner. But it's not the first time that's happened too. With him, I think he did he tried to take someone's like leg out or something. I don't know if he like tackled somebody wrong or he like. I don't know. I'm trying to remember what it was, but there was another instance like that too. But yeah, and people are just done with Belichick. I mean, they're done with him. I was watching a clip from one of the Boston radio shows, and everybody's turned. It seems like a lot of people just turned on Belichick. But it's like, what have the Patriots done since Brady left? Nothing. I mean, they went to the playoffs, but what happened? They got destroyed by the Bills. They got destroyed. I forget what the score was. I think the Bills put up like 50 points against them. It was terrible. And then they took a step back. And even more of a step back. But I also just, and now the defense, they're just dealing with a ton of injuries now. I mean, the rookie corner, Gonzalez, he's out for the year. Judon's hurt. I mean, they trade for J.C. Jackson. They get him back after he signed that big contract with the Chargers. But again, like, what does all this say about Belichick? Where Brady leaves, goes to Tampa, wins a Super Bowl, then comes back the following year and has another great year. Could have won the Super Bowl that year if it wasn't for the Rams. knocking them out. And what have the Patriots done? Nothing. They have done. They really have not done. They have done nothing. They are the worst right now. They are the worst team in their division. And I say that I think the Jets are better, but they keep beating the Jets. I still think they're the worst. Like, you don't have any elite playmakers. Like, who is like the gotta have from the Patriots offense? Who? I mean, Ramondre Stevenson is a nice running back. Is he an elite running back? No. They don't have an elite wide receiver. Their best like pass catcher is arguably one of their tight ends. But again, that all goes back to Belichick. This roster construction. I mean, signing Ezekiel Elliott? You're not getting prime Zeke. You're just not. And this was the other thing too I was thinking about. Like you go back to all the Super Bowls that the Patriots have won in the 2010s, right? Yeah, you had Rob Gronkowski. But you look at their receivers. Julian Edelman, great player. But, like, was Julian Edelman an elite wide receiver? I would say he was an elite playoff wide receiver. But, like, who was it? You had Brandon Cooks, right, for a year. And he was great. But they didn't win the Super Bowl with him. That was the Super Bowl they lost. I mean, 2018, your top receivers were Edelman, Chris Hogan. I mean, and, of course, you had Gronk. But I went back to like 2013, right? They lose Wes Welker. And who did they go and replace him with? Danny Amendola, who did turn out to be a very productive player for them. But be honest, how many, I didn't know who he was. How many of us knew who Danny Amendola was when the Patriots signed him? I don't think that many from the Rams. Now, again, I could be wrong. But he was not a household name. Now, again, Brady made it work. Whatever Belichick did, Brady made it work. I mean, that was the year they had Amendola and Kembrell Tompkins. I mean, it was just a weird assortment of receivers. But that was Edelman's like true like breakout season was 2013. And, of course, again, you still had Gronk. Gronk was their elite weapon. But, you know, they bring in guys like Brandon LaFell. You know, I mean, Mohamed Sanu they had for a minute. I mean, these are just guys I'm naming off the top of my head. Malcolm Mitchell. You know, I mean, they never really had like an elite wide receiver. Unless you want to call when Brandon Cooks was really good. But, you know, I mean, Belichick just never really like got Brady any like star wide receiver to work with like during the 2010s. I mean, obviously you had Randy Moss. But that was the year they didn't win the Super Bowl. But now it's just, I don't know what it is with them. I mean, it's just the staff decisions. I mean, you gotten guys that you're calling offensive plays that have, you know, that's not their background. I mean, now you got Bill O'Brien in there, and you would think maybe that would do something. But now it just seems like they're regressing even more. So, I mean, it really comes down to the head coach. And it's Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick has a lot of power with this team. And maybe it's time he takes a step back. Get somebody else to make decisions when it comes to personnel. And maybe you might see different results there. You know, take him out of some of those conversations and have him coach the team. And people, I think, are just done with his act, too. I mean, the press conferences, he's got those, you know, one-sentence responses. You know. Now, Bill Belichick is still a Hall of Famer. First ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest coaches of all time. He knows, like, football. But it might just be the game passed him by. Because you look at the AFC, I mean, it's loaded with all these young quarterbacks, and Mac Jones is not a part of that conversation. Now, again, they got to surround him with more talent, but I really don't think if they did surround him with talent, I just don't see it with him. So, but that's pretty much it when we talk about this topic. Let me know what you guys think. So with that, we're going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Bengals. And if they're back or not after picking up a big win against the Cardinals on Sunday. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.